pleased and privileged to welcome you all in the inaugural session of this insightful national seminar on role of universities in social transformation. It's indeed encouraging to see such a diverse and enthusiastic gathering of academicians and scholars who are passionate about driving positive change in our society. My profound and heartfelt gratitude to each one of you for being with us this morning. Today, we are here to deliberate upon the pivotal role that universities play in shaping the trajectory of social transformation, the transformative power that universities hold in shaping not only the educational landscape, but also the very fabric of our society. We have to understand that universities are not just centers of education, they are powerful catalysts for change, serving as hubs of knowledge dissemination, critical thinking, and innovation. Universities have the unique capacity to mold the minds of future leaders, to spark meaningful conversations, and to inspire actions that can reshape the world we live in. In an era characterized by rapid technological advancements and global interconnectedness, the role of universities becomes even more paramount. These institutions have the additional responsibility to instill values of empathy, inclusivity, and civic responsibility. In the light of National Educational Policy 2020, the scope of university influence extends even further. The policy encourages universities to embrace interdisciplinarity, foster creativity, and forge deeper connections with communities. This, in turn, paves the way for universities to actively engage in addressing pressing social challenges and contributing to the overall betterment of society. It was in this backdrop that our department took a lead in organizing this seminar in order to get a multi-dimensional perspective of the role of universities. Over the next 2 days, the seminar will feature keynote addresses, plenary sessions, paper presentations, and participants will have the opportunity to share their insights related to the theme. To make this seminar happen, we are highly grateful to our visionary Vice Chancellor, Professor Nilofer Khan. Your overly enthusiasm and integral view on knowledge has made you the constant oasis of ideas, and for this very reason, we rely on you, ma'am.
The macro context of the larger economic, political, social, cultural, and the micro context of the institution of a university, as all scholars here would know, are deeply interlinked. The university is not a stand-alone entity. It is both an institution for transformation, as the title of the seminar says, but itself is a product of the society within which it is supposed to be transforming. And this is something we have to look at. Going back to, again, my long stint in the academia, and I'm really delighted that today is Teachers' Day, so again, a very happy Teachers' Day to all, because a teacher fundamentally comes alive within a classroom. That is the place where you dialogue, where you exchange, where students ask you questions, disagree, agree, and you yourself learn and unlearn as the process going on. So this is a very auspicious day for a seminar of this kind. And I would like to sort of focus very briefly, as much as I can, the word university. The word university is derived from the Latin universitas, magistrem et scholarium, which approximately means community of teachers and scholars. And there have been great centers of knowledge. The problem with, however, knowledge and titles and words and concepts is that very often we use a term which emerges at a particular point of time and then insert it back to times immemorial to say, look, there were universities then and there were universities then. So we had extraordinary centers of learning like in Nalanda. In the West, they talk about Oxford and Cambridge and Bologna and University of Paris. If you all are familiar with Orientalism, Edward Said's work, you would know about the libraries and the great centers of learning in Baghdad. So we've had great centers of learning globally. And these were centers which often began as theological centers. For example, both at Harvard and at Oxford, you still have centers of theological studies because that was the context. Most knowledge were within the framework of philosophical questions, logical questions, theological questions, studies of hermeneutics, how do you read texts, so emphasis on language, etc. However, a shift takes place with modern times, and we are talking about modern times. And again, as a social scientist, contexts are important. It's important not to talk in absolute abstract general terms, but it's important to historicize. So if we look at the modern context, and since this is being organized by the Department of Sociology, and those of you who are from the discipline would know that when we talk about sociology, one of the first chapters is emergence and growth of sociology. And there are three events which we normally refer to, one being the Enlightenment, the Age of Reason in the West, the rise of science, the idea of critique, the idea that you can question. The second is industrial capitalism, the idea that you need particular kinds of skills and growth and development and social transformation which takes place. And the third being the French Revolution, which is about democracy, equality, liberty, fraternity. Now, very often when we teach this, you may wonder, why are we talking about these obscure events globally in the past in the West? But they have been fundamental to our lives as a modern nation in the anti-colonial struggle. And therefore, it's important to reiterate the specificity of the modern context, where a university's discussions on NEP would suggest that you need employability. You need skills. You can't have students who go out of the universities and do not have the requisite skills to have employability. So that's the question of industrial capitalism. The second is the Enlightenment, that you need people who are citizens, who can question, who can critique. Because as sociologists or social scientists, people may ask you, what do you people do? What do your students work in? And sometimes you start thinking, okay, will they get a job in this corporate sector? Will they get a job in the government? But it's much more than that. It is about everything that touches our lives. Whenever there is maybe a kind of calamity, a gender question, the people will say, oh, we should have gender sensitization courses. When there is a kind of disarray among the youth, people will say, you must have a course about for the youth. But my argument is, and I'm sure all of you would agree, if you have good social sciences and if you have good liberal education, then you do not need to have those specific courses, because people grow up to be compassionate, to develop the virtues which are enshrined in the Constitution of equality, liberty, fraternity, and social justice. And this is where I step in very quickly, because in A Teacher's Day, we know that knowledge is cumulative. And that's why I went back to the beginnings, that we stand on the shoulders of our predecessors, as the Google, would show that you're standing on the shoulders of others. And isn't this interesting? I was looking at the NEP, and then I was looking back at 1948. The University Education Commission, popularly known as the Radhakrishnan Commission, was set up in 1948. And I was sort of looking at the chapterization very quickly, and chapter 2, because the emphasis here is on university education, aims of the university education. So the title is very interesting, New India. And you have impact of political change, universities as organs of civilization, wisdom and knowledge, aims of the social order. One of the great things about the modern world is technology, and there's been a lot on online education. Use it. Go back to the internet, download this document. That's how I did it. I downloaded both the NEP as well as I downloaded this, as well as my older familiarity with the Knowledge Commission or the Yashpal Committee. The second chapter is democracy. I don't want to go into the details about the value of an individual, education as growth, unity of mind, natural sciences, social studies, and humanities. Number 3, justice. Number 4, liberty, within which you have university autonomy, spirit of science and social conservatism, liberal education. Because a lot of people feel liberal education is something new. It's a buzzword of many of the private universities, for instance. But it has a very long history and a legacy. Equality, number 5. Number 6, fraternity and nationalism. Uninterrupted continuity of Indian culture, number 7, which says the Indus Valley civilization, the Vedic period, Buddhism, Indian influence abroad, South Indian teachers, the spread of Islam, the influence of Christianity, the chief tenets of Indian culture. I'm just talking about the titles. I do not have the time to go in, but I just wanted to offer you this possibility to go back and look at it. History of India, study of the past, the epics, appeal of the epics to the youth, and living cultures. So the past, the present, high culture, the everyday culture. Fraternity, and this is very important, the international. Cultural cooperation, larger patriotism, and the emphasis of the new international institutions at the time, for example, UNESCO. Part 9, which is higher education, the forward education. The education must aim to develop good, thoughtful, well-rounded, creative individuals. To develop our ethical, constitutional values, intellectual curiosity, scientific temper, creativity, 21st century capabilities across disciplines. So you see in NEP, and this is where I begin, the NEP, and you look back, and you see so much commonality about interdisciplinarity, multidisciplinarity, questions which we have. I myself am a product of literature in my graduation, and coming to a university where you had the possibility of taking courses across disciplines. But over the years, I'm also somebody who's worked on gender. I still feel that there are certain kind of foundational training in one's discipline, whatever it may be, which is very critical for you even to engage with interdisciplinarity at certain kind of levels. Now, one of the issues which I think nobody would have a problem with NEP is the problems which have been identified by the higher education system in India, a fragmented higher educational ecosystem, less emphasis on development of cognitive skills and learning outcomes, a rigid separation of disciplines with early specialization, and streaming of students into narrow areas of studies. This has been happening over a period of time. In the early years, you had a very different kind of curriculum. People who went to schools in the 1950s, 1960s, or even people like me in the 1970s. Things started changing towards the latter part of the 1980s when you had a new economic policy going back to your industrial capitalism and sociology, and the idea of utility. How are you relevant? And anybody asks you, how is your discipline relevant? And you want to answer it in the very frames that they have questioned. Okay, will you get a job here? Will you get a job there? The question is that skills are necessary. Everybody has to have skills. And skills are not just specific kind of skill. Reading is a skill. Writing is a skill. Analysis is a skill. Ability to think through is a skill. Ability in a world of fake news, ability to read and say, okay, this cannot be the correct news, this must be a fake news, comes from skills, comes from training. What could be the source of this information? If we are not trained in the social sciences, there is no way which we'll be able to figure out what news is right and what news is not right. It will never be possible for us to live in fraternal relationship if we are swayed by the kind of fake news which would reach you in what is today's world called narrow casting, not broadcasting, narrow casting. Meaning the WhatsApp news that I get may not be the WhatsApp news that you get. The WhatsApp news I get is not the WhatsApp news my cousin gets. So there's a corporate model, so they know you not only the coffee that you like, or the biscuit that you like, or the perfume that you wish to buy in a store, they also know what your preferences in terms of intellectual preferences could be. Now, this is something which defines our lives. And unless we understand the production and dissemination of this, it would become very, very difficult. So I agree completely with the vision of liberal education, but this vision has to be accompanied with the institutional provisions where such a vision can flourish. An institutional vision of autonomy, ability to give the time to reflect, read, contemplate and think. But if we're going to enter that race of competition, where we have to make sure that we get the required number of certificates or the required number of what is it called, the points, which may be having a good intent, but the question is how does it function? As a sociologist, we look at not only the normative perspective of what ought to be, but what is, how does it empirically function? So young scholars can look at it. This is a terrific idea. How does it actually function within the institutional provisions that we do?
I'm in education primarily because I'm worried about the system. And education as a system, higher education, school education, I must congratulate that you have taken a topic like role of universities in societal transformation. I was invited by the Honorable Lieutenant Governor as soon as he took over to give him a background paper or note on the school system of J&K. So I had visited Jammu, visited Srinagar, talked to all the stakeholders, and I could find that like other states, the state of the health of schooling is not very good in Jammu and Kashmir. I want to understand how is the health of higher education in Jammu and Kashmir. Let me start by asking, आपने जो टॉपिक लिया है, role of universities in social transformation, have you started by thinking you are a university? आप यूनिवर्सिटी हैं क्या? हम जिसके बारे में बात करना चाह रहे हैं कि रोल ऑफ यूनिवर्सिटीज, ऐसा तो नहीं सोच लिया है कि रोल ऑफ यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ कश्मीर इन सोशल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन. पहले ये तो सोच लीजिए कि आप यूनिवर्सिटी बन पाए क्या. व्हाट इज अ यूनिवर्सिटी? वी आर नॉट पार्ट ऑफ ऑल अदर इंस्टीट्यूशंस ऑफ द सोसाइटी. जैसे दूसरे इंस्टीट्यूशन से वैसे हम नहीं हैं. वी आर डिफरेंट. I must also mention at the same time, I'm so very grateful to this place. I started my education from Srinagar. I studied in Presentation Convent for first 4 years, which is the foundation of my education. और आज मैं अपने स्टेट को रिटर्न करने आया हूँ. यूनिवर्सिटीज क्या है? मैत्रेय जी ने थोड़ा इशारा दिया था. It starts with France. If you don't look at the ancient Indian tradition of Nalanda, Takshila, Vikramshila, the modern university system starts with France, and it starts with the priests. हमसे ज़्यादा sociology जानेंगे. Knowledge is power, and that is why universities are important, and that is why they are important for social transformation. We change minds, we change people. If I'm a good teacher after today, if I'm able to really deliver a good keynote address after today, you will be a transformed person on the basis of the arguments that I am able to give. आज के बाद आप उस फिल्टर से अपने सारे अंडरस्टैंडिंग को देखेंगे जो फिल्टर मैं आज क्रिएट करना चाह रहा हूं. The church wanted to control intellect, the intelligentsia. That is why they appointed professors, and they said go into the society and disseminate the knowledge of Bible or the message of the Bible. But when the students ask कि आप ऐसा बोल रहे हैं बाइबल में ऐसा कहा गया है, ये सही है क्या? آج میرے اس ایڈریس کے بعد آپ بھی کوشچن کریں گے ٹی ٹائم پر کہ آپ نے ایسا کہا, ایسا صحیح ہے کیا, یہ غلط نہیں ہے, مجھے آنسر کرنا پڑے گا. بٹ وین آئی سے کہ نو 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 میڈم وائس چانسلر ہیز ٹولڈ می, اس کا آپ اس کی بات نہیں کریں گے, تبھی میں ٹیچر نہیں ہوں اور تب آپ یونیورسٹی نہیں ہیں. So when the teacher went into the society, started disciplining people, asked کہ جیزس نے کچھ غلط تو نہیں کیا تھا, جیزس ایسا کر کے ٹھیک کیے تھے کیا. The teacher started interpreting and examining. The church said, no, you are not allowed to interpret. The professor said, no, as a teacher I must interpret. We disagree to agree on certain things, and that is universities.
The topic itself speaks and has lots of weight. I was going through the sessions which have been organized, a very well thought of sessions. I'm so thankful to all our speakers, all our delegates who have come from outside the UT to be with us this morning and next 2 days also. I'm sure very good recommendations will come up. What Professor Sharma has already said, something will be deliberated on those issues also, and I'm sure that it will be a very successful and very good recommendations which will come, which will be helpful to our university and helpful to other universities and helpful to higher education system overall. Now very briefly, when we look at the role that university play, of course they play a very important role as leaders in teaching and learning, in education, research, technological teaching activities. Universities provide the professional training for high-level jobs as well as the education necessary for development of the personality. We are guardians of so many students in our university in order to look after their holistic development. The trust society have on the system in the university setup is really a great responsibility, and of course it's our duty to frame their personalities in overall holistic development. And the system is like that. We definitely cater to these needs, what expectations the society has with higher education institutions, whether it's colleges or it is universities. The role of the universities is very important to all sectors, social as well as legal point of view. Graduates, all disciplines, need knowledge about sustainability also, and very well sessions have been kept for that. Universities can help in providing with the new knowledge and skills needed to meet the challenges of sustainable development in a community, in raising public awareness and providing preconditions for informed decision making, research behavior and consumer choice. Universities are considered to have been regarded as key institutions in social change and development. The most important role they have been assigned is the production of manpower and research output to meet perceived targets. Another role that universities may play is in the new institutions of civil society, in developing new cultural values and in training, socializing people on social era. These were some preliminary role that the university is expected to play. But if we go to the present area, the role of universities has widened a lot. Technology is taking place in our society. The role has become more challenging. There are lots of challenges also that our higher education are facing, and higher education is well aware of it. Our new education policy 2020 is already implemented in our UT. In fact, University of Kashmir was one of the first universities in the country to implement these policies. The change has come up after, approximately 40 years. The new system of education has been implemented, and there's major transformation. Of course, one of the challenge that we are facing is the mindset of society is to be changed. The mindset of teachers is to be changed. The mindset of students is to be changed. It's not that traditional way of teaching what Professor Sharma was addressing. The system has changed, and it's the students himself or herself where she has to contribute her interest. Areas of interest have to be known to the system. I'm sure Professor Renu Nanda will talk about Design Your Degree at her university. They have already admitted a batch on it. Our university is moving ahead. We are having 2 days training programs today and tomorrow for college teachers and our own faculty at the university in order to implement that Design Your Degree, a very novel kind of degree, and what Professor Sharma was talking about, taking care of that. So when we look, the role of universities in transformation of society is also changing. Now society has to equally contribute towards the educational system as educational system was contributing towards the society. When I say this, I mean in our society also, like Industry Connect has to be there, so the role of society comes over there. The partnerships will be there, so society will be again one of the stakeholders or one of the major role that the society has to play with the higher educational institutions. Definitely, it's a new education policy 2020 is transforming the system of higher education in our country, and of course all of you must have studied. The entry exit is there, diplomas will be awarded. If there are dropouts, certificates will be awarded if there are dropouts, and the skill component and entrepreneurship component is given lots of weightage. And our students, while in their own academic programs, have to develop that skill. As Professor Sharma said, that going into employment, whether private sector or government sector, won't be the priority. It will be the skill of the students, skill of the individual that we have to nurture. So I think this is one of the major challenges that higher education is facing this time, how to do it and how it can be successful. So with these words, thank you very much. And I really congratulate Professor Anisa and her team for organizing this seminar on this very important date, that's Teachers' Day. Thank you very much.
Any inventions normally do happens when we interface and interact with the society. So that's we do have. But today, when we are discussing about the university's role in social transformation, and from the beginning, even ancient Indian knowledge also mentioning that, so the education always do interact with the society. So we have earlier the education system in 3 forms. One is known as Gurukula, second is known as Parishad, and third is known as Sammelans. So first the Gurukula used to give the school education to make, and Parishad used to give the higher education, and Sammelans give the scholastic pursuit and intellectual discourse. What is happening today is a such kind of event of Sammelan. But one thing I would like to know, this is as universities by virtue of its identity and functions, it has a pivotal and significant role for transformation change of society. Why I would like to mention is every year we are getting a talent pool of students. That means a vibrant students are coming. We first and foremost we have to transform them into leaders. These leaders will form more structured and highly organized societies. So those societies will enable to make the country to a stronger economy power. So these three things do ultimately comes when university wanted to make a specific contribution to the society. Unless we create the leaders, proper society is not formed. When proper society is not there, the economy will not grow or swell. So these are interconnected. When we look at these things, especially, so how to engage the community through education is one of the important. Because UGC recently came out with a document known as the Community Engagement and Social Responsibility. So this actually being there, but they started giving the various documents and guidelines related to the internship. Internship in two forms they have given. One is research internship, which enable any student for scholastic pursuits. And second is the industry internship, which enable to student to develop certain skills, which get him a livelihood or employment. But it has missed, but preparing a specific guidelines for social internship. So that is one of the important things, this kind of debates, and this they have to contribute what kind of social internship, what guidelines needed to be prepared. What I normally felt it, whenever the institute opens an admissions, we get three categories of students. One is known as gifted learner, the other one is known as average learner, and third one is known as passive learner. It is a gap, GAP. So gifted learner normally a self-motivated guy. So if he is interested, he can study beyond the curriculum and engage himself for the research and scholastic pursuit. But average learner, a motivation is required. He needs certain skills and training to get the employment. The third category is the passive learner, needs attention. This attention is so catchable for them if you showcase for any kinds of events. So such people we should engage especially for the society. So they come with certain events which they interact, they can even recall. And when these three internships we allow, first of all we should ask the social internship students to present their experiences in the classroom or the debate seminar halls. When he presented his case, normally the research internship student get an idea, so how to solve that particular societal problems. And the person who undergone industry internship, he make a strategy how that is workable because of his industry experience. So these interfaces are necessary effectively so that we can prepare the leaders for the society. So then what we are imagining that is possible. But first of all, I wanted to mention, so how this society and education can go together. Long ago, the UGC brought out one document known as University and Society when the Golden Jubilee Celebration lecture series carried out when Arun Nigvekar was the chairman of the University Grants Commission. So during that time, a lot of things has been debated, and it is the responsibilities of the higher education institutions. They should get connected to the society. Unless we get connected to the society, the societal problems cannot be understood, and the solutions cannot be formulated. So now just I would like to see the UNESCO is one of the important organ in for higher education, normally education system in the global level. They set certain standards and certain goals for all member nations to take care of. So during that particular part, so they have made certain things which can improve the quality of life of human beings, and based on that, so in 2009, so the International Conference on the Higher Education System came out with an idea how the higher education institution should connect to the society. So based on that, so they formulated certain specific guidelines related to the, mainly it is known as GUNI. So it is mainly considered as a global university network for innovations. So this particular body has organized a particular event. It is known as the fifth World Report of Higher Education under the theme of knowledge, engagement, and higher education. So how they are contributing to the societal change. So which we are speaking about the change and change leadership and so on. So how this is possible, this document has given a lot. So based on this document, the UGC has brought out the community engagement and social responsibility 2.0. So now every higher education institution should look into that and work on that. So this particular aspect of the social responsibility and community engagement higher education institutions, so normally directed by higher education to adopt a new values and practices for economic development that enhance the social equity and reducing the environment role. So where we speak about the sustainable development goals, 7 sustainable development goals which we are speaking about. So in these particular sustainable developments, there are certain issues can be addressed which has the direct impact on the society. So this includes the poverty, inequality, climate change, and environmental degradation, peace, and justice. So these are the 6 important among the 17 goals which directly connected to the society, which we have to think effectively. And now the universities should work on the research in these related areas of sustainable development goals. So if they do the research, actually even times higher education rankings also giving a priority, if any higher education institution a proper research, their thematic areas or sustainable development goals, certain weightage component is there for ranking system. So now we also look into that particular direction so that we can effectively contribute to the society. So this universities must and should look into that. And also further I wanted to, universities should need to redefine their research strategies to address the 17 challenges depicted in the sustainable development goals. So this is what now just conclusion session just I want to. So today whatever the discussions, deliberations in the any research papers presentation is there, if they focus on this particular areas, it is more useful to the society and as well as for the identity of the university also. And first of all, I congratulate the organizers for organizing this particular event, and it is giving a special dimension to the higher education institutions, their role related to the how they have to get connected to the society. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
I should acknowledge that all universities at present, we know that India is the second largest, having the second largest network of higher education in the world after China. And we have almost 1,000 plus universities and 42,000 colleges network in the country at present. And we expect that the gross enrollment ratio is expected to rise to 32, hopefully when it is in West, it is 54 at present. Universities have to play a larger role for the transformation of societies, and I hope that when in 1857 just three universities were established in India. It was Bombay, Kolkata and Madras, and at present after 100 plus years we see that there are 1000 plus universities in the country, and all the universities play a pivotal role in the transformation in the education system in the India. But I wish that when we talk of the universities of excellence, I was dealing with the universities of potential for excellence, Center for Potential for Excellence and Universities of Excellence, UAE what we call in India. So I wish that a good number of universities, though we have a potential to be University of Excellencies at larger level, but unfortunately we couldn't make it in top 200 universities in the world. Despite that, good number of departments in the good number of universities in India, they figure in top 10 top departments of the world, like few departments in JNU, few departments in DU and other universities, but still we have to go a long way to make ourselves as the center of excellence in the higher education system. At University of Kashmir, we all know that we are the topmost university in UT of J&K, having a A+ grade with CGPA of 3.31, and fortunately also we figure among the top 50 universities in the latest MHRD ranking. We figure at 30.